Hello, and welcome to the Regional Report. I'm your host, Gersu, the Orcust Mech Knight. In today's episode, we'll be discussing top cut and decks from regionals in Cheltenham and Nottingham. All information shown today was kindly supplied by our faithful competitive community. In particular, check out the YGO Results UK Glide app where you can submit or view results from events and check how well a player is doing. If you'd like to contribute, feel free to reach out on our socials. Let's go over to Blue with the pie charts.
Thanks Gersu. Looking at the regional in Cheltenham, Kashtira made a positive contribution, taking up 25% of top cut lists. Rukusu Navalon did a reasonable job, eating up 25% of the pie chart. In comparison with past data, we can see that Branded was not present in the latest top cut, surprising given its recent strong performances. Additionally, Kashtira had a dramatic rise. That's it for top cut, back to the studio.
Thanks Blue, and might I say, impressive insights as always. Let's investigate a list, kindly submitted by Tansu Dagyaran, who ended in 5th place at this regional, beating 5 other players and ending with a 5-1-0 record. Here's what they said about the deck. The deck was great to pilot. It puts up an obnoxious first turn board and is aggressive going second, being able to play strategically into most boards and overpower other decks. The lack of Bestials being played currently with the decline in Branded representation means the deck was in a good position to resolve Drytron names more reliably. I didn't expect to see much Branded due to the low conversion rate at the 250th YCS, but I ended up playing 2 during the event. But despite this, triple tactics thrust was extremely valuable, even going second against Branded. Being able to set dimensional barrier when you get puppet locked due to them usually activating a monster effect helps skip their turn in order for you to crack back. Thanks Tansu Dagyaran for your contribution.
Thanks Gersu. Looking at the regional in Nottingham, Kashtira played a solid game, constituting 38% of the pie chart. ABC showed promise, constituting 12% of top cut lists. Compared to earlier findings, we can see that Branded was not present in the latest top cut, surprising given its recent strong performances. Additionally, Kashtira had a substantial increase. That's it for top cut, back to the studio.
Thanks Blue, and might I say, excellent visual representation as always. Let's investigate a list, kindly submitted by Asa Newmarch, who ended in 2nd place at this regional, beating 6 other players and ending with a 6-1-0 record. Here's what they said about the deck. The deck is pretty easy to pilot, especially considering I played Swordsoul in most formats since its release. I picked the deck back up for this format because it can compete with the current metagame really well, and it's also a deck I'm incredibly comfortable playing. The main and extra are overall pretty standard, but Heavenly Dragon cycle comes up a lot consistency wise and for dodging Valor/Imp compared to Vessel, which is terrible going second and can be bricky as well. Shthana comes up a lot as well due to being another LV4 for synchro material, as well as its removal EFF evenly in the main is insane if you end up going second, as its strong removal against a lot of the metagame ATM. Some people are moving away from Eclipse and favoring Moon. I still played Eclipse as it's a main deck out to Dragoon, still strong vs a lot of the metagame, Cash, Swordsoul, Branded etc., and it can bait Ash Blossom out. Again, extra is incredibly standard, but opted to go for the 3rd monk and Drytron for the 2 flexi spots, since having 3 monks is incredibly strong for the grind game and if you need to do shaman plays. Meanwhile with Drytron, the card is incredibly relevant for playing against back row decks ATM, and sometimes going Baron and Drytron pass can be game ending itself. Going into the side, Kaijas are better than Nibiru right now, as everyone is playing around it and it's a terrible top deck going second. The Kaijas are really strong vs the metagame. E.g. Shang, Eris Hard Pass, Dragoon, Mirror Match and VS Sprite to switch off Double Cross. Went with Game Seal as its lowest attack, and in grind game scenarios, it makes Dragite live. Bell is solid VS branded, Math Mech and Labyrinth as it stops a lot of those Dex power cards. Cosmic Cyclone and Duster are the best back row removal cards ATM outside of Evenly, since Duster doesn't have the same restriction as Lightning Storm, which makes that a dead card late game, and Cosmic Cyclone is good removal that can be sided in going first to stop cards like Birth and Raitzeth, and it's good VS Lab when your opponent reveals Lord of the Heavenly Prison. Dark Hole was honestly an MVP for this event as it cracks a lot of boards, especially Sprite, and it's good Omni Negate bait. Anti-Spell Fragrance was also another MVP as it helped back up the Chixiao and Sinister Long UN/Varan boards to prevent board breakers like Dark Ruler, Thrust, and Talents, as well as slowing down my opponent. For example, against one of my cash matchups, my opponent had to set a majority of his hand as he couldn't play with Anti-Spell, Chixiao and Sinister Long UN on board. While a pointer didn't come up, it's a really strong card for ripping board breakers from the opponent's hand. Change-wise, I don't know what I would specifically change, considering everything worked really well, and during the last few weeks of this format I had been messing around with different techs and sideboard ideas to see what worked and didn't. If I did have to make a change, maybe change out Eclipses for something else, as Branded is probably the meta deck on the biggest decline ATM, especially after the 250th YC SEG. Dragoon might be a smaller worry now. Thanks Asa Newmarch for your contribution. Let's look at some products now. Since our last video, there were no major releases for the TCG. Looking ahead, no releases are on the horizon, but the format may evolve as players discover new and effective ways to play. Don't forget that you can get 5% off at tier0games.com when you use the discount code YAZI5 at checkout. As always, we'd like to thank our contributors and community for the incredible support. Remember to subscribe and let us know your thoughts on the latest card game news. And watch out for polls coming up on the channel. This is the end of our card game news for today. Until we meet again, keep playing.